All right, Tia, welcome to Cam Capone News.
Thanks for having me, Cam.
Yes, no problem. Well, a lot of people might not know who you are. You are the owner of the trademarks and the corporations for Bloods LLC and Crips LLC.
Exactly.
Now, before we get into, a trademark and everything, I would like to get a little bit of background on you. Where'd you grow up, and what was it like for you growing up?
In my early childhood, in the 50s, that was time shared with my father, where his parents were. And with my mother, was more in the Wilshire district of Los Angeles. So that's actually where my gang connection came from, was visiting the weekends at my grandparents' house, who were in the 50s.
Okay, and you got involved in gangs yourself?
Yes.
Okay, became a Crip?
Yes.
Okay, how did that come together, and what was that like?
Well, actually, it came from the area which I had become familiar with and comfortable in as a 5-year-old from visiting my grandparents on the weekends, and familiarizing myself with people in the area, growing older and making my way back as I got older more often, meeting different people in the area, and it was just that kind of thing. I think that's pretty much where gang initiation is. I think it comes from the home. So it's where your parents or your whoever you live with pay their rent or their mortgage. Pretty much, that's the culture in LA, decides where you're going to be from. So when your grandparents own a home in the 50s, that's your tribe. So you grow up and that's who you affiliate yourself with. You're not 5 years old, you're saying, oh, you know what, I'm going to be from the 50s, I'm going to be a Crip. That's not what happened. I grew older. It was there already before I came. I grew older and learned more about it, and we just kind of, like I said, tribe together.
How old were you when you were initiated, when you got in?
Like 16.
Oh, okay. What was it that made you actually want to, become official at that point?
You know what? Because I was a juvenile delinquent, and I ran away from home a lot. I was the only child, and that's just not where I wanted to be. That's not where I felt acceptance at home. It was my friends that were outside the house.
Were you like one of the original members?
No, or? I'm a second generation.
Second generation?
Yeah, second generation.
Okay. You've seen a lot.
Yeah, second generation. Actually, my first run-in was in 1979, May 31st, with Tookie. Yeah, we were at a funk festival, Coliseum. They used to have those every year. And he was there, he and this guy he used to hang out with, Jamel. And they had these big muscles and Vaseline or baby oiled all over. And the top of the flaps were hanging down, and somebody approached him or got too close to him or rubbed a muscle or something, and all hell broke out. And there was a stampede. People were getting trampled, I being one. And so, yeah, that's where I could, take it back to that far, remembering.
Wow.
Actually, being around a Crip.
So this must have been like right before Tookie got arrested, because I believe what he was accused of happened in '79 also.
Could have been.
So it must have happened.
Could have been. But I mean, if he needed on that day, May 31st, 1979, an alibi, I know where he was. He was at the Coliseum.
He was accused of a crime on that day.
Yeah, he was at the Coliseum that day. Yeah, he was.
Okay. Did you ever run into him after that?
No. Like, that could have been what happened. If you said shortly after that he was incarcerated. I don't think after he got in trouble for that he even got back out. I don't know. But no, I've never seen him again. No, I was more connected to Michael Conception.
Okay.
Yeah, I was connected to Michael Conception. He was a person that was a factor in my life, not Tookie. And Michael was the first generation Crip.
So you've been able to take the Bloods and the Crips and incorporate it and trademark it. You know, where did that whole idea and everything come from?
Well, it came from me knowing that we have as much equity in our culture as McDonald's and Coca-Cola, first of all. You know, we've been robbed of our history and culture with Black Panthers. Warner Brothers came along and, you know, did what J. Edgar Hoover couldn't do with the COINTELPRO, you know, and completely wiped out our history. We're probably the 50th on Google search, on the 50th page of Black Panthers. Because what you're going to get now is Wakanda, some made up, some recreated, some whatever they thought they wanted to do with our history. You know what I'm saying? So that's what you're going to get now. And eventually it would have come to that with Crips and Bloods. It would have come to that. And it crossed my mind. And it says, well, what do? Get everybody together as a collective, or do you go and handle it now and you keep it for safe keeping? And when it's time for everybody to come to the board, then we do whatever we need to do with it. And that's what I needed to do. I needed to go, because when you serious about your cripping, you do serious things. You see what I'm saying? And so that was a serious move that I made, and I did it on behalf of the culture, not for myself. And I mean, I have enough business savvy and experience to know when to make a move. And so I did. And, you know, not that I'm the leader of it or anything like that, because Crips don't have a leader. You know what I mean? And so, yeah, that's where it came from. You know, I didn't want our culture to be stolen in that sense, in that manner that it has been done with the Black Panthers. Their heirs can't even use it. They don't have a museum. They don't have anything, Black Panthers. There's nothing there, because everything Black Panther now is Warner Brothers. And they're doing a Black Panthers 3. I didn't even know there was a 2.
So nobody ever trademarked it or anything, the Black Panthers at all? So no. They came along years later, and I'm assuming that they trademarked Black Panther at this point.
Yeah, that's who has it. Warner Brothers has the trademark.
That's crazy.
Warner Brothers has the trademark. Yep. And who did the box office numbers? My brothers and sisters. We turned out in droves. We ran those numbers up. We broke records. You know what I'm saying? We did all that. For what? Because we were too blind to see that they had, you know, pulled the wool over our eyes. Took your history. You went and paid them and congratulated them and patted them on the back for doing such a good job. But what your kids gonna teach their kids about where we came from, or the little piece that we did have in this American history? It's all gone.
Damn.
And if they could do that with the Crips and Bloods, they do the same thing. For sure they would. Why not? Absolutely.
So you trademark it. And what year did you trademark it?
I believe it was 2018. I believe it was 2018.
Okay. And now, I mean, because the Bloods and Crips have been around, you know, since the 70s, 60s. So it had been around a while, and nobody really had this idea. You get this idea, and you being a former Crip, you know, you trademark the Bloods. So I don't know. I mean, are people offended by that at all?
Well, see, that's the thing. I wasn't trying to do it to undermine our culture or anybody. You know, my mindset is different now. I'm not an active gang member. It's not a me. It's us as a collective. You know, I'm a mother, and that's what it's about. So it was only right for me to look out for the Bloods as well. You know, and so I did that. Yeah.
Okay, the Crips and the Bloods, which most gangs have a really big history of violence. You know, are you ever worried that, you know, owning this and being kind of like the face of it now, you know, are you worried about like any RICOs or any investigations or any negative consequences.
No, because this is the legitimate side of the organization. This is the legitimate side of the organization, and anybody who has any sense about themselves would want to come on over to the legitimate side of the organization. I've had calls from mostly back east though. And I had one specific call from an attorney in New York. And he had a client who had charges and gang enhancements and that kind of thing. And so he called and he says, is this like the gang Crips? And I said, yeah. And he goes, you guys are a corporation? I said, yes. And so he went on to explain to me about his client that he had and he's facing these charges. And if there was something that I could do for him to give him something in writing to say that Crips weren't just an illegal entity. And I said, well, no, I can't give you that. But he goes, okay, as long as I was able to Google you and it says that you all are a corporation, I'm going to use this in an argument in court for my client. And he did it. Okay. He used it and he proved to them that they weren't just a street gang. Yeah. And whatever these enhancements were, he got his client off from the enhancements. I don't know what he did, how he did it, but that's what, the conversation that he and I had. The Hells Angels are trademarked.
The Hells Angels are trademarked.
Yeah,
yes,
the Hells Angels are trademarked. And the Mongols are trademarked.
But they get RICOs though, right? They do. They get indicted.
Every criminal who's in an enterprise who comes up under the eye of the feds get charged. I'm not into RICOs. I'm not into committing crimes. That's that criminal element of my life has been long gone. Yeah. So you can't, because there's Crips and Bloods who don't even know each other, and so because that's the life that they chose or are choosing right now, you can't connect me to them. You see what I'm saying? There has to be some element of, and so, no, I'm not worried about that. Not at all. Not at all. I'm studying law. Yeah, I'm studying law right now. My record's expunged. I'm studying law. And see, that's the thing that we can't be afraid of. I'm kind of like the Harriet Tubman of this shit. You know what I mean? Like, you can't be afraid. She wasn't afraid. You know what I mean? And she got our people out into safe places, and she's about my size. Sometimes you have to step out there. You can't just talk about it. And I'm going to tell you something, and I want everybody to hear this. My mom used to tell me when I was a kid, and I never understood what she meant. She used to say, you know what? That pen is much mightier than the sword. And I'm telling you, you feel powerful when you're carrying a pistol, but I think that's some type of an addiction. I think gangbanging is an addiction. And I think it needs to be a 12-step program to get kids or people away from gangbanging. The criminal part of it is no longer a part of my life. So, not all Hells Angels are criminals. You have doctors, lawyers, and so you can't, create a whole basket of bad fruit because of one apple. It just doesn't work that way. And the Mongols have been fighting with the feds well over 15 years to have their trademarks taken away from them. And against the federal government. Yeah, the Mongols were fighting against the federal government and going to the federal government because trademarks are owned by the government. That's who monitors those. And it's the United States Patent and Trademark Office. And they won. The Mongols won. So the feds, even with their career criminal enterprise, the RICOs that they were under, all the murders, the drugs, the guns, weren't able to take the trademark. You can forfeit and you can seize property, but trademarks are not one. And the feds lost. And so the Mongols can still wear their patch. They still have their trademarks, and the government couldn't take it. And that's where you really make money with your organization and with the ownership of trademarks. Yeah.
Okay.
So
Okay.
it's just art. We own the Crip Walk. Yeah, we own the Crip Walk as well. So we left
Okay.
nothing out.
Okay, so you own like kind of like everything associated with Crip. Now, how do you trademark Crip Walk or like the
It's
dance?
not a trademark. That's a copyright.
Okay.
That's a copyright. That's what you do with that, because it's a form of art. So you trademark that. I mean, you copyright that.
Now,
Like Soulja Boy.
you copyright it. You copyright the dance. So what does that give you rights to?
The dance, the steps. If somebody wants to use it, just say Fortnite.
Okay.
You can't have somebody doing that in Fortnite without us licensing and being paid for it.
What about Snoop Crip walking at the Super Bowl?
If we wanted to press an issue, we could.
Really? Okay. So you can't do that dance in a public forum?
No, money was made off that Super Bowl. Anytime there's money made using a trademark, somebody's supposed to cut a check. That's licensing. You ever heard of somebody posting something on social media and just say, for instance, they're playing some Prince, for instance, playing Prince a song after they posted something of their personal, and they said, oh, you know what, you have to take this down. That's copyright infringement.
Yeah.
This music doesn't belong to you. It's the same thing.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. It's the same thing.
So now, what if it's a Crip and he's doing the Crip walk in a video? Is that, like, how does that work?
Well, it doesn't matter. If you're a part, if you have the permission to use it, that's one thing. It doesn't matter. If you're using it, you have fair use of a trademark. There is fair use, and that gives you just automatic use of it without having to seek permission. But it's very small. It's like if you're describing something, if we did a commercial or we were talking about something and we said the McDonald's French fries, we could say that.
Okay.
You know, something like that. But yeah, and that's how that's how it needs to be. I mean, ownership is a big deal. You know what I mean? And
so this will stop, like, I mean, I'm guessing, right? You can correct me if I'm wrong, but this is, you know, made for, like, say if, like, you know, Warner Brothers comes along and they do like a dance movie and the movie's about dancing, and one of the main steps in there is they're learning how to do the Crip walk.
Yep.
This will stop them from just
Yes.
blatantly stealing it.
yes,
Okay.
we need a check.
Right.
Yeah, we need a check for that.
Okay. I see. That's interesting, man. I don't know if this was true, but I seen an article where they said that Jay-Z's diamond, that, you know, Jay-Z's been known for throwing up the diamond,
Yeah.
right? The rock. He's been
Yeah.
doing it for years. But I heard some guy came along and trademarked it. And now Jay-Z can't even throw it up.
That's right. I mean, if the guy owns it, that's right. Now, without permission, he has to have licensing. That's a big deal.
That's crazy to think, like, that these little symbols and, you know, stuff like that can be. I mean, because I guess technically you could trademark a gang sign.
You could, but if it's something like that, it would probably be a copyright.
Copyright, my bad.
Copyright.
Copyright.
Copyright it.
I'm gonna give some people ideas now. People listening to this are gonna go copyright their.
Oh
hood.
yeah, it was a big deal. I trademarked the marathon. The marathon continues.
Okay, I seen that you had some issues with Killer Mike and Big U about the Cripocola. Can
Right.
you kind of break that down and everything that happened with that?
Yeah, well, right now we're in litigation. We have a $50 million lawsuit against Killer Mike, Big U, and a couple of Killer Mike's managers, and also Exotic Pop for trademark infringement for the use of the Crip brand without permission. Killer Mike is an Atlanta. I don't really know of his music or anything like that. I just knew slightly of his activism, and I spoke with him a couple times in the past, and then learned of him using the brand. He wanted to. He took it to a major network, and claimed it to be his brand, that he was the owner of it, and he wasn't. And I spoke to him on the phone early on when I learned of this situation with the network, and I spoke and I said, hey, actually he knows my oldest son's father. They all had Bad Boy connection together with his manager. His manager did a lot of things with Bad Boy as well. And so I spoke to them on the phone and I said, hey, I see what you're doing with the, I get it, but if you like to pursue anything on a serious note with our culture, then you would have to sit down at a round table with a collective of people. I said, this isn't something that you go to Big U or, you want to go see Mr. XYZ about it. You would have to get with us if you planned on doing anything further with it. And I never heard back from the guy. I never heard from the guy again. The next thing I knew, there was a photo op with him and Jay-Z paired up, and they're standing doing a photo op, Cripicola, and Jay-Z's the new partner and the new face, and he did a song with Pharrell about Cripicola, an entrepreneur. And I'm like, yo, what's going on here? So from my understanding, they did sit down with Big U, and they spoke to him and asked permission to use the Crip brand. Now, these guys are out of Atlanta. Big U is not the leader of the Crips. He has no shot to call over our culture, what we can and what we cannot do. He ain't made a check and sent nobody nothing. So, with that being said, they didn't sit down and talk to the right people. It's not just no one person. And I think that's kind of sort of what the media thought, and these guys is some country bumpkins out of Atlanta and, wanted to, I just didn't even understand the infatuation with a culture like this, with people that's not being from here. And then especially Killer Mike, who poses to be an activist on one note in front of the people, and on the backhand, you got gang dealings from Atlanta to LA. He's come here and had meet to have gang meetings with gang members. And I've gotten calls on phones, and they just leave me on the speaker and let me listen into, he didn't know, and let me listen into the meetings that Killer Mike was attending here in LA, on some gang shit. So it's like, what side are you serving? You know what I'm saying? And so, time went by, and I sent cease and desist. Hey, y'all gotta stop using that. You cannot do it. You know what I mean? And so I think they kind of thought it was for play. And so they got into it and did their thing. And he tried to broker a deal with Jay-Z to become his partner. And Jay-Z found out that Killer Mike was not the actual owner. When they finally decided, hey, Jay-Z's on board, Killer Mike asked Big U, can you get in touch with that chick and have her, and he's like, no. He had an interview on with Adam on No Jumper. And he said, no, I'm not calling her for what? Of course not. What did you call me for? You didn't call me any other time. So, so time went by, and now all of them are in court, and it's a win-win for us. And this is definitely a start in the right direction to let people know, especially if you start with Big U, who is supposed to, is a self-proclaimed leader of the Crips. As I said, he's not, because we don't have a leader, and he don't call the shots for us, and so this is a way to let them know that we not playing. That pen outweighs that sword by 1,000 times. And when you said, am I concerned about people seeing or being the face, or no, I'm not worried about any of that, because if I were not to be here or around, it's all paperwork. It goes. We have heirs. We have a board, so it's passed down. It's deadlocked. It is what it is. You know what I'm saying at this point. So yeah, no, no, I'm not worried at all. But it'll send the right message to those who think that you can just come and take over our culture without paying a price. It's not gonna happen.
Now, how far on the lawsuit are you with it? Because I actually did see a commercial. Was that the commercial that they made?
Was the commercial of what? Was it a Cripicola?
Yeah. Yeah.
Michael Blackson was in it? No, it could have been, I don't know. It could have been something that Killer Mike was doing. I have no idea. They invested a lot of money, a lot of resources. They had a lot of people in on it with them. T.I. I saw some photo ops with Snoop. Yeah, that's not even the same product.
Right.
As ours.
It looks a lot different. Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it was so strange that he'd even received a letter from the trademark office. And because he tried to trademark it, and the trademark office said, hey, somebody owns this, and we're going to suspend your application, and you know, it's probably going to be suspended indefinitely, because if you attempt to do that, the likelihood of causing confusion is there. And that's not what trademarking is all about. And after they received a letter from the trademark office and told them to stop, they went full speed ahead. That's a no-no.
So they kept going even after they were
after
served
the
with
letter
papers
from the
and
trademark office and after the cease and desist, they kept
Oh.
going. And that's a no-no. I mean, you see people get arrested all the time. If you're in a place that sells like knockoff handbags, they take everybody to jail when the feds come and jump out in those plastic jackets for trademarks. You selling fake Gucci's or whatever the case may be. It's the same concept. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. It's completely, so yeah, so we got them in court, and the point that we are now, they've all been served except for one of the defendants, and we're moving forward. Mm-hmm.
What all are you looking to get out of it?
Well, the lawsuit is asking for $50 million and some other damages and whatever the court also sees fit. See, what happens when you do something like that to the degree that they went to, when the trademark office told you to back off and you didn't, punitive damages can be up into the hundreds of millions just to teach them a lesson because you went behind the trademark office telling you to stop, you know, that kind of thing. But that's what they do. Mm-hmm.
Right, that's probably going to be what's going to get them in trouble, is that they were told to stop and they didn't.
Oh yeah, they were. That's in the lawsuit. It's there. It's the very last page, actually. Yeah, the very last page is from the trademark office. I just thought I'd throw it in. I have text message threads from them saying, yeah, this is the one I told you, the friend that I know who's the woman who owns the Crip and the Blood, you know, that kind of thing. But yeah, so yeah, you can't just do that, you know. If whatever your set is, trademark your set. You know, do something like that. You know, but or get with the collective, you know, that's just what it is. Because Big U don't run nothing.
You mentioned there's a board.
Mm-hmm.
So how does this board like work, and you know, how often do you guys get together? You know,
we do it once a year.
Okay.
Yeah, we get together once a year. We have to share our articles of incorporation. Whoever has something they want to add, maybe last year something played out, we want to take that out. And we get together and, you know, it's growing. Actually, it is. It's growing. And we do things now through the organization. We have been doing things through the organization for a while now. You know, we raised money and we brought several people home from prison on sentences that were football numbers. You know, by getting them attorneys and things like that, and getting them back to the board. And yeah, we help people.
How do you become a member of the board?
It'd be a Crip.
Okay. So, so if like someone who's grown and
No, you know what it is? It's for the ones who want to change. It's for the ones who want to legitimize their sources of income. It's strictly above board. It is. It's for the ones who are to that point where they see that that's not the way. Because once you're a Crip, you're always a Crip. It doesn't matter if that was back. This is like a virgin. You know, once you had sex, if you choose for the rest of your life not to have it again, you'll never be a virgin. You know what I'm saying? You already got your cherry popped. So, you know, that's it. All you have to do is just be willing and then just reach back. That's what I'm doing. That's all I'm doing. You know, I've gotten some places and done some things in my life and saw that, you know, I came out of that lifestyle and those thought patterns. And, you know, I've done pretty good for myself. And now that's what I'm doing. I'm reaching back.
how many people are on the board?
Maybe about 75.
Oh wow. Okay. That's a lot. I think you mentioned Raymond Washington's
Yeah, Raymond
kids.
Washington was on the board, and he has a sister. She was too.
Okay, that's pretty cool. Okay. Is there any other notable people that we might know who are on the board?
Not that I could mention. No, not that I could mention. You know, but to me, even whether they were noted in the media or not, they are all notables to us. You know what I'm saying? Because we're all one, you know? So I think that every member holds the same amount of weight as the next one because we all have the same mission, you know?
Now, how do you guys decide what to do with the organization?
The board, that's why you have a board.
I mean,
That's why you have a board.
Is there like a voting process, or you guys all?
That's
throw
why
ideas?
you have a board.
So like, if Disney was, or not, if like Warner Brothers says, "Yo, we got this scene, we want to use the Crip Walk," like they go to you, and then you bring it to the board, and the board votes on it.
Well, there's somebody. We have an office, and so somebody who takes all that, does the intake, or whatever you call it. Because a lot of people call, we get all kinds of crazy calls. I'm telling you.
I can imagine. I heard some of them on the internet.
Yeah, we get all kinds of crazy calls. So, so we have intake. So they'll do an intake, and, you know, the people that go through it to see if this is serious or what this is, and people do follow-up and stuff like that. And that's how we handle everything, you know. It's through the board, and that's how it should be. And everybody doesn't sit in the same position, and you shouldn't, because somebody has to, just like in a jury, you have to have a jury foreman, somebody who has to come to and speak for the rest of the jury. So that's what we have. It's a process like that. You know, we have a foreman.
And you guys use the money to help people?
That's it.
A lot of it's helped people get out of jail and to, you know, either bail out or to for lawyers. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, we have lawyers that we have on call, on speed dial.
Oh.
That work with our organization. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We don't play. I'm telling you, I'm so deep into it. This has really helped encourage me to do what I'm doing. Study for the bar right now. So when somebody says, I heard it last week, as a matter of fact, they were talking about Puffy trying to bail out of jail. And I think he offered like $50 million. And, you know, they were saying it doesn't matter the amount of money that you have or the fame. You're not bigger than the law. I want to become the law. That's what I want to do. I want to become the law. Do you realize how much power attorneys have?
Yeah. Yeah. I see.
Yeah.
For sure.
So that the level at the street level, and that's not power. That's not power. As a matter of fact, I wrote a book. This right here. This 52 Laws of Black Power in America. A raised fist ain't power. Nah, that's not power. I'm telling you, you got to get that record clean. You got to expunge it. You got to get pardons. Whatever it is you can do to get your shit together and straighten it out, you got to do it. and become a part of society that's productive. Because I'm telling you, right now I do paralegal, and it's so empowering. And I work under attorneys. Well, that's how I'm passing the bar. It's not formal education, so I'm not in college. I'm doing an apprenticeship under attorneys, and the amount of power is ridiculous. And so I have another former Crip partner of mine that we're both trying to get into the White House. That's where we headed. We trying to make it to the Senate. We got to change laws. We got to do something.
Man,
yeah.
That's what's up. Okay.
Yeah, you got to do something. Mm-hmm.
What else you got over here?
Oh, well, these are for you.
Your products. We got
these are for you. Now, this thing right here, let me show you what this is. Now, this thing right here, this is, can you see this here, right? We call these edges. Yep. That's what we call it in our culture. We call it baby hair. So, and the idea started in jail, as a matter of fact. Now, this is hair gel. I invented this. So, I'm like the first patented Crip to have an invention and a patent. Now, I invented this. This is called Baby Hair Edge Pro.
Okay.
So what this contraption is, now see, in my day, when I was younger, you had to carry a toothbrush, a regular toothbrush, to get the edges right, gel in a separate container, and your comb separate. And so I just decided I was going on a trip a weekend away, and I didn't want to carry all that. And it all came together, and this is what came out of it, the Baby Hair Edge Pro. So you have your gel here, and you lift this up, you squeeze this, the gel comes from here, and you use it. You close the topper off and put it in your pocket and go. It's refillable. So these things are available on my website at tiahollis.com. These are also available on babyhairedgepro.com. And this is an invention. Actually, this is where I made my money, in this invention. And Northwest told her parents, what do you want for Christmas? And her parents are billionaires. And she told her parents that year, the only thing I want for Christmas, your parents are billionaires, and the only thing you wanted for Christmas was a Baby Hair Edge Pro? And so they got her the Baby Hair Edge Pro. And they let her, I guess, use her Christmas toy or whatever she got for Christmas, and she did a TikTok, and she blew me up.
That's
she blew
crazy.
me up. And in that business of this product, we take some of the money from here, and we have a fund that we put in, and it's called Paying It Forward. So we like to help less fortunate families, do something for their families. And we were not exactly sure that Christmas if we were going to make it. And we got an order in, and it got us to our quota. And I was so happy and excited for that order that I wrote a note to the person that bought the order. I don't know, maybe like over 10 of these. And so I said, thank you very much. This meant a lot to us, and you helped us meet our quota for our Paying It Forward for less fortunate families. And it was Kim Kardashian. And she posted, she posted my note on her after Northwest did the thing on TikTok. Kim posted us on her Instagram story. And I sold an average a brush per second for 24 hours. She made me $1 million.
Man, that's nuts, man. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So, so that's this deal. That's my invention. And Baby Hair Edge Pro. It's something. So now it's so popular. I've done licensing deals for that. Yeah, I've done licensing deals for Baby Hair Edge Pro. Mm-hmm.
Man, that's crazy, man. Wow.
Yeah.
That's man. They got some serious influence, man. If they post you, you're doing good.
But you know, so that's my thing. So I'm coming back to my people, and I want my whole tribe, all the Crips and all the Bloods, and you know what the society sees as misfits. Come on, you guys. I got the formula. You know what I mean? And I'm reaching back. You know? Let's get in the think tank. You don't have to go to prison and sit in the think tank and get it together. Because you know they go to prison, they have the best artists, they have the best wood crafters and all these things. They make the beautiful clocks, and you don't have to be in there to realize your talent. You know what I'm saying? We're very talented people, and we're thinkers, and we can do it. I did it. So I know it can be done. So now I want to reach back and say, hey, come on, y'all. It doesn't have to be that way. That street, quick, slick shit ain't about nothing. Not at all. And ownership is everything. Mm-hmm.
I hear that.
Yeah, ownership is everything.
Right after Nipsey passes away, you know, we start getting these headlines. You know, Crips LLC has applied for a trademark, and you know they're trademarking. The marathon continues. You know, I believe this happened just a couple months after Nipsey passed in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
You know, all this happens. You know, so you know a lot of people. You know, they were mad at you. I don't think they understood or knew what was going on. You know, can you kind of break down that whole situation?
A lot of people are still mad to this day about me trademarking the marathon. And this is actually the first time I've ever spoken about it publicly. And I did. I applied for the trademark. Just because I'm not in the streets as a lifestyle, I mean, it's here on my neck. That's what it says here, street life. So I was very much a part of the streets. But just because it's not my everyday lifestyle, I'm still connected in some ways. And what happened was when Nipsey died, they were trying to extort his estate in the streets, and it was being talked about, and I got wind of it. So, like I said, I'm not in the street, and I'm not, you know, on the violent tip and that kind of, so I had to sit back, woosah, collect my thoughts, and figure, what are you going to do to save this boy's estate? What are you going to do? I had to do something about it. I heard them talking about, you know. So I said, you know what? That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to trademark it, and I'll tie it up legitimately in the trademark office, and nobody can do nothing with the marathon. His Black Sam couldn't even do anything with the marathon because I tied it up. And although I did try to initially get in touch with his sister, I did send her a message through her DM, but they're mourning Nipsey's death. You know what I'm saying? I didn't really expect that she would call me back to talk about a message that I left in her DM, you know, and she used to spend a lot of time at my house. She's friends with my youngest son. And so, yeah, I did. I trademarked it. They were trying to extort it. Big U wanted it, and Suge. Mm-hmm.
Do you have any idea what they were going to do with it?
Whatever they thought they could do with it. You know, I would get plenty of calls from Suge, you know, talking about that. I mean, he called from prison talking about it. And so I was clear on what was going on, and yeah, and I got it. And my intentions were not giving it to Big U and not giving it to Suge. No, saving it for Nipsey's estate. Because let me tell you what happened with Nip. My son, DG University, his name is Don. He does video. He's a videographer, and he was just starting out, but he hadn't built any content. And Nip was just starting out, and he didn't have a bag for a team or whatever the case was, somebody to come film and do it. So they got together in exchange. You know, he said, Nip, I'll shoot you if you let me use the content to start building my portfolio for my videography business. And Nip said, man, you got a deal. So he shot Nipsey's first performance at the House of Blues. And from there, my son, you know, started to build his resume, and that's how they did, you know. So Nip looked out for my son, you know what I mean? And so it was only right for me to look out for his kids, and that's what I did. And so, yeah, that's why I trademarked it. And as a matter of fact, Black Sam and I will eventually get together and sit down. And we just saw each other a couple of weeks ago and, had a talk and laughed a little bit and about it and stuff like that. But yeah, I sure did. I trademarked it to keep it for his estate, for his children. And when you hear them talking about what they got now and who split what with what out of the estate, is because I looked out. And it was only right. I didn't get any money for it. I didn't ask for any money. The thing was, we did a vetting process to make sure that it went from us directly to his estate. And that's what happened. And they have it.
Okay, but they sued you at one point, though, and you guys worked it out? Or how did all that come together?
Well, that was the only way that they could obviously get in touch with us was through an attorney. So they hired an attorney, I remember initially, and he just didn't seem like he was above board to me. He seemed like he might have been behind the scenes, on some politics. And so I said, he asked for it, and I said, no, we're not giving it to you. And we didn't. Then they got another firm, because I don't even know if that really was coming from his estate or from Black Sam or whoever it was coming from. But then when I got to the point and saw that this is really, his estate, it's Black Sam and it's the family, and then we went ahead and did it. So that's what happened. They got in touch with us through that way. But yeah, there was no lawsuit. And even when it first happened, somebody from our organization released a statement saying that we'll never take them to court. We will not fight them in court. Well, we couldn't speak on what was going on at that point, but we just wanted them to know publicly that we ain't fighting y'all. This belongs to you guys. You know what I mean? And so eventually we handed it over. Yeah, there was no lawsuit.
Now this happens, and but people are still thinking people still think a lot of bad stuff about you. I'm glad you're here to clear it up, because a lot of people were really really mad about this. I remember when this happened.
Yeah, well, that's to be expected, because I'm not a person who, this is the first interview I've ever done. So I'm not into explaining, because for what? And I'm a person who's definitely in touch with reality. I don't think I'm bigger than the program, because anybody can get it. You see what I'm saying? It only takes about 1.2 pounds of pressure to pull a trigger. A baby can kill you. So I'm not above any of that. And, but I just stay in my lane. I mind my business. I'm not going to bother you, and I'm not going to let you bother me. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. And so I've never had to explain my actions for that. And as a matter of fact, I think it was probably one of the most profound to this date lessons that I've taught. Because when everybody found out that Nipsey did not own the Marathon Continues, and that was his brand, and he always spoke about ownership, trademarks went up 10,000% between 2019, when I trademarked it, and 2020. It was the most amount of trademarks filed, applications filed in the history of the USPTO. So I did good. After that, that's all I heard about. Intellectual properties, trademarks in our culture. And so it was a good thing, So yeah, I didn't come out explaining and that kind of thing. As long as my intentions were there, and I did what I set out to do, I wouldn't hurt Lauren London like that, My boyfriend, there was a 54th Street massacre back in 1984, and my boyfriend was murdered the same way that Nipsey was murdered in the street, So I know the pain that Lauren London felt at that time. And she was a kid with him, you know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't dare, do nothing like that to step on her feelings, her emotions, disrespect her like that. And yeah, so that's what it was for. I hate that it had to, be done that way. But I mean, that was the only way that I knew, the best way that I knew to do it, and the most effective way to do it, to make sure that it didn't get into the wrong hands, because it's very valuable, very valuable. And so when I said to Sam, I said, Sam, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for what, I put you guys through. And he says, what you put us through by saving the marathon was nothing of what you saved us from. And so, that was all I needed. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm.
Okay, now I see you and Charleston White, or you have some issues with some of the negative things that Charleston White says about the Bloods and the Crips.
Well, absolutely. Absolutely. And there's nobody who seems to be a person or a voice or an influence that is even checking him about it, or can, I guess, because everybody he encounters, or somebody they're all on parole. So he's going to call the parole officer, or I'm going to say what I want to say because this is my mouth. Well, I'm letting you know right now, Charleston White, it's over saying what you want to say because this is your mouth. Put your money where your mouth is, because we sending a cease and desist, and all the derogatories about this culture, you're going to have to stop it. Because it's going to cost you. And we don't want to take all your money that you're making on tour from your blogs and interviews that you do. But if we have to, we will. It's not a problem. So we're starting right now with the cease and desist. And that will be going out to Mr. White at the end of the week.
Now, is there anything specific that he said that?
Well, see, the thing is this. When he speaks of this culture, he does it as a whole, as a collective. You see what I'm saying? And so now when you talk about them that did this to you, I'm not one of them that did these things to you. There's a whole lot of us that are not the ones that did these things to Charleston White. So he has to be specific, or he has to stop doing that. You know what I mean? Especially in the time where, you out here preaching that, you're on the right path and you're trying to do these positive things. And if you know that that's what we're trying to do with this organization, then you need to curb that mouth you got. But if he doesn't have to, because we will put him in court just like Big U. Uh-huh.
Did you know that Charleston White claims to be a former Crip himself?
That nigga's a clown. That's what he is. He's a clown. That's what he is. Shit, Ronald McDonald got all the money in the world, but he's still a motherfucking clown. Shit. Who got more money than that motherfucker? What he selling? 20 billion burgers a day? Shit. But a clown is a clown. That's what he is. Charleston White is a clown. And so I've, watched enough and had enough board meetings and talks about this and that kind of thing to say now, yeah, we, as a collective, have decided that this is what we're going to do. So we're going to cease and desist him. And if he doesn't want to, like he says, he can say whatever he wants to say out of his mouth, then we'll see him in court. It's not a problem. You're going to have to pay for that. Yeah. That pen, I'm telling you, is they put the guns down. Get an education, y'all. Pick up them pens. Because when you just sign that signature, that's when you're making some moves. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's kind of crazy, man. I don't know if Charleston's actually, not that I heard, been hit with any cease and desist yet. So that's
yeah. Well, we have it. It's already drawn up. It's drawn up, and I think we proofed it the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. So it should be going out to him this week. Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's went hard. He's just went as far as disrespects Nipsey. Even King Von, which, I know he's not a Crip or nothing, but, he's, a dead, we even went after King Von's mom, so, I mean, I'm saying he got a reputation for, crossing lines verbally
mm-hmm.
and saying, the most nastiest things you could possibly say
right.
about somebody.
Yeah, but when you become a public figure, one that he is attempting to be, there's accountability. You have to be held accountable for some things that come out of your mouth. And nobody has presented it to him, obviously, because he does it But so, like I said, we have gotten together and we are going to be serving him with a cease and desist, and then we'll see how he fares after that. You know, we'll see how he fares, because to have hatred is one thing. I understand that, you know, but the derogatory, his comments and things that he does, you know, it's far exceeded where it need to be. We get it. We understand how you feel about it, but it's time to cut it out. He's a clown.
You've trademarked the Bloods and the Crips. What about the Hoovers?
Well, Hoovers are Crips.
Okay. So they would kind of fall under.
I mean, we didn't trademark the Hoovers, but you know, it's for them to decide. Every individual, you know what I mean? If we have things that we have that we could offer beneficial to whoever, you know, it's there. We respect Crips and Bloods all over. So even the thing I was saying about Killer Mike, and he's from Atlanta, it doesn't mean that he's Atlanta Crip and we don't respect. We respect Crips and Bloods all over the world, because that's where they are, all over the world. The thing is, it's open for them. If they want to, you know, if we have something we could offer them and they're willing, then that's fine, even if they're Hoovers.
Okay, now, you know, I remember this came up a while ago. Crip Mac was selling shirts with his name on it, you know, because Crip Mac, you know, he became really, you know, he's popular. A lot of people like Crip Mac, man. I think, you know, he even wanted to make some Crip Mac bobblehead dolls, and, you know, they had all types of ideas of how they were going to market him and sell him, and it became a big issue. Like, I don't know if he stopped doing it voluntarily, but you know, I know that there was some issues there with him using.
I like that guy.
Shirt, because it says, you know, it says Crip on it.
Yeah, I think there was probably somebody from our board that did create a wave about that. I'm not exactly sure, because I didn't have hands on in anything like that. And like I said, I like Crip Mac. We did a photo op together. He's like you know, he posted me on his social medias and stuff like that. He's a sweet kid. He's really a sweet kid. And we've been in talks with a network, a new and upcoming network, about doing some reality TV productions for Crips and Bloods. You know, that will create reoccurring sources of income for gang members. Everybody wants to shine light on the culture, but nobody wants to shine light on them. And I don't think that's right. So they need their own reality shows. They need their own cooking shows. You know what I mean? Video games. And this is a collective, and this is, you know, their sources of income. They don't have to live in the street, don't have to commit crimes. You don't have to, because you're part of a culture that has so much equity. You can sit back the rest of your life. And so that's what we're working on. That's ultimately what we want to do, is to completely legitimize all of their sources of income. Because when we do that, then that stops them from, you know, home invading you, or snatching your purse on the street, or, you know, taking off your AP while you sitting on a sidewalk in BH having your meal. You know what I mean? So, you know, we're trying. And so the one thing that we are in immediate talks about right now is it's a franchise, and it's Real Crips and Bloods of LA, I think is the first one that they want to work on. And then they'll have Real Crips and Bloods of Houston, Real Crips and Bloods of New York, and it will be these aren't actors, Real Crips and Bloods getting together and doing a TV show.
So is he good to sell his shirts? Like, how does that work?
Or
does he have to go through the board?
Yeah.
Like, he has to go through a proper process, at least, like, reach out, contact you guys, be like, hey man, I got.
Yeah, see, that's not fair use.
And I don't want to sell my shirt.
Yeah, that's not fair use. And the thing about it is because Crip is famous, I think there's like maybe 40 something or 50 something different classes of trademarks, meaning that you have Delta Faucets and then you have Delta Airlines.
Okay.
But they're both trademarked. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So there's different classes, but because Crips are famous, Crips is not a word, it's an acronym for Community Resources. Community Revolution in Progress. It's an acronym, so it's made up. It's not a real word. So it's very distinctive. When you say Crip, you know what it is. You know what I mean? You don't even have to think, is that a car?
Right.
Is that a shirt? Is that a food? No, you know what a Crip is. You know, and I've talked to 80, 90-year-old women have heard us mention and say, are you talking about gang members? Everybody knows what it is. So because it's famous, we didn't have to take trademarks out in every class to own it. There's nothing that you can do with it because it is famous. And we actually trademarked the organization. We trademarked the gang. The gang itself is trademarked. So it's not just the word.
Okay.
We trademarked the gang. Just like car clubs, it's a car club. Car clubs are trademarked, not just the name, the actual organization. And so so that's what we are in talks about doing right now. And they're going to do casting for it and the whole gamut. And I think it's a great idea. I do.
That'd be nuts. Okay, yeah.
I do. I give them some spotlight. What's the deal? You know, let them have their own cartoons and superheroes and all these things that they can have and be great with. Why not? And the bureaucracy and the red tape is no longer there the way that it used to be, you know, in the television business and entertainment, because we have the internet and we have apps and, you know, we have sources. So yeah, I think they should have it and you know, and I think they should be the cameramen and everything else. Yeah, it's for everybody. It has nothing to do with me. I am just the person who thought to take care of the culture. I'm just the person who thought to secure the culture, protect the culture. You guys own your culture. You know, I'm not even going into, you know, how many people have lost their lives for this, or how many people, or how, you know, there's a lot of different things that people have contributed. Some lost lives, you know, some gave this, some paid money, some whatever, you know, but as a collective, let's change, you know what I mean? And let's not, you can't talk about it. You have to give them a way out. You can't just talk about, you know, let's make this change and no. Show them that you can change. I've changed. I got a bag. And I'm going to show you how to do it and you. So come on, let's get this money. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you're a Crip or a Blood. And see, that's the same thing about me trademarking Nipsey's marathon. It's the same thing I did for the Bloods. I'm looking out for the culture. You know what I mean? And that's just my nature.
Now, I believe I heard you say that, you know, Crips LLC isn't affiliated with any actual Crip gang.
Well, Crips LLC is the legitimate side of the Crips, because Crips are Crips. So it's not separate from Crips. We're legitimate, and then we have Crips that are not. So the Crips that are not under the LLC.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you kind of mentioned like Crips from other cities. You know, how does all that work with like out of town Crips?
You know what? That's something that would have to be gone through with a process of meetings and different things like that, because we are seriously, and I'm gonna be honest, we are focused on the LA faction of the Crips and Bloods right now. And so eventually, you know, we'd like to, you know, pull in all over the world. But initially, that's where we are. I mean, we want to do a union, memberships and all these things.
I think I heard you say that you can't buy your way into this culture.
No, you can't buy your way into this culture. And that brings me back to Killer Mike. From my understanding, he offered Big U a sizable donation to be able to use the Crip brand. And you can't do that. You can't buy your way into the culture. You can't sell a part of the culture. That's no go. But because he's so in the light of the media, this is the perception that everybody has, that he has that power to call a shot like that. And now it's costing them, all of them.
Suge Knight.
And I met Suge one night at a club. They were shooting. And I was trying to run. And he would come to the clubs afterwards because he used to do flyers. He would pass out flyers. He was promoting parties or concerts for big promoters back then. And he was there at the club that night, and somebody was shooting, and I think he got grabbed me or something, but he got me to safety. And that's where I met him. Hollywood Live, I think that was the name of the club that night. And we must have exchanged phone numbers or something. And then we talked a couple of times. I didn't want to give him my phone number at first, but I'm like, damn, he did just save you, bitch. So, like, that's the least you could do. So, so he got my phone number and we talked on the phone a couple of times and came by. I was just being nice and shit, but he wasn't a guy that I was attracted to at all. It was nothing about him that. And then he got to the point where he started kind of stalking me a little bit. And this was in '89. There was no death row. And I would come home. My oldest son was still in the arm carrier. So he wasn't even walking. And I would come home and have to step over Suge sitting on my steps with a bottle of wine and flowers. And I would walk right over him like he wasn't sitting there and go right in my house and lock my door.
Oh.
Yeah, he was a bit weird, But yeah, no, he was no death row back then or anything like that. And then for a while we after that, split and went our ways, and then we reconnected years later. And he's my youngest son, Suge's the only father that he knows, and we got really close on the reconnection. We were cool, but still never that togetherness, relationship, that kind of thing. No, he's my homeboy. That's how we label that, as a homeboy.
What were your thoughts when you seen the video or you heard about the video of him running Terry over?
You know what? Because I know Terry. Suge was scared. I wasn't there, but I know him. And I know he's not a gangster. And he kind of, sort of, I believe, if you back them up in the corner, they're going to come out, fight, you know what I mean? That kind of thing. And I think that's what was going on because the year prior to that one, coming into New Year's, I think he did an interview. And I don't know if it was TMZ, and somebody said, what are you doing for the new year? Or what's your plans or the goals for next year? He said, I'm going to kill me a motherfucker. So I think he had gotten tired of kind of being bullied. That was the barber thing that had happened and, other things that happened prior to that thing with Terry. And so then when this situation occurred, I think he was afraid. And he just did whatever. And it's at this point, I have to kind of stand up for myself a little bit. And you can see that in a person who's not really about that life. Because he didn't have, let me call Bone or let me call Terry and, they're going to pull up. That shit's over. You know, you done killed all your do boys is gone. You know what I'm saying? At some point, you're gonna have to try to stand up for your own self. And I kind of think he was facing that day, and he was afraid. And I don't think he meant to kill him.
Him and Terry were friends, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they were friends, you know. And it's very unfortunate that Suge got dealt this raw deal that he's facing right now. But because he's not from the streets, this is where he wound up, because he was on the bus, the county jail, and they had put together a task force while he was in jail just for him. And they put a guy on the bus, and Suge was talking to him. And he says, yeah, man, I'm going into court today. I think I'm going to be released from court. And he told him, you know, I think he said Inglewood family or something, wherever he told. He said he was a blood. And he said, I'm getting ready to go back to the street. You know, you got any messages or anything you want me to deliver? And Suge said, yeah, man, you know, call. And so anyways, he gave him the lawyer's phone number and this whole exchange. You don't do no shit like that. You know better than, but the Suge ain't from the streets, because he would have known. And so that's why he didn't have, he had to take what they gave him, because had he not, what happened after that with this guy on the bus, he was a cop. He'd been around Suge's attorney. He went to jail. It was crazy, because he did too much talking. They were trying to get the police to pay off witnesses for, you know, shit like that. So he kind of earned his place where he is right now.
Damn. Now this one was kind of crazy. I learned about this. So your boyfriend at the time was Buddha, and he was murdered in the 54th Street massacre.
Yes, that's what I was referring to about Lauren London. I know the pain she felt when she lost Nipsey. I was involved in that same type of situation in 1984.
Right. For some people who don't know, you know, in 1984, there was, I want to say, like 3 guys from Hoover, and they couldn't get into the party. They didn't want to let the dudes from Hoover into the party, but I guess they hung around a little while after. Now, and some of these guys had carjacked some dude earlier in the day, and this guy came back, and you know, he ended up, they ended up killing like 5 people that night.
They did.
Total of 10 people shot. You know, what do you remember about that night?
I remember the whole night. I wasn't there at the party. Now, the party was for, I believe it was Tasha, a girl named Tasha. And my mom was leaving to go to New York that night. Buddha and I had actually lived together at that time. And so we were like inseparable though. So we were really never apart from each other. So my mom said, well, I'm leaving for New York in the morning. I said, I wanted to come by and say good night or goodbyes to you, Mom. So she says, okay, I'll come by and I'll pick you up and we'll go to the house and have some food. And then, you know, we'll catch back up. And I said, okay, fine. So I said to Buddha, I said, my mom's going to come by and pick me up and I'm going to have food with her. She's going to New York in the morning. He goes, okay, let me just tell you, when you get there, don't even take your jacket off. And she knew when he said that, like he's right. If we sit down, he's already knocking at the door. So we got to my mom's house and we had food and my aunt was there and we finished the food and she goes, where's Buddha? He's usually here. You don't have to call him. So then I said, oh, I'll call it. No answer. So time went on and she has to get ready for a trip. So she's packing and so then she says, my aunt, she says, drive with me and we'll drop her off at home. And so we got in the car and I have kind of like this gift of discernment, like it's really strong, like an intuition kind of thing. So we're in the car driving and my mom lived on Normandy and Jefferson at the time. And so she was going to get on the 110 freeway because we were living Manchester and Hoover. And so I said, no, drive down Vermont. I think I was 17 years old, 16. I said, no, drive down Vermont. Something just came over me and said, and so then my aunt turned and my mom says, hey, don't do that. She doesn't know where she's going. Speak up so she could turn in time. We turned down the street and we were coming from Jefferson and we got to Exposition. An ambulance passed us. Oh my God, I lost it. And I'm screaming and crying. My mom goes, what's wrong with you? I said, Mommy's dead. She goes, huh? I said, Mom, something is wrong. And she says, please don't say that. But now all ambulances are going past us like this. He has never one time not been there to pick me up. That has never happened. And we got closer, and then we started seeing yellow tape and all these other things going on, and I got out of the car, and then everything was just kind of a blur, a haze, but I could see him on the sidewalk because I knew what he had on when we left the house that night. He ironed my clothes when we left. And he was not involved in the carjacking at Crenshaw at the homecoming game because he and I had a spat earlier that week. So he says to me, no, you know what? You went out and you didn't call or something. He goes, so for 7 days, you're on a punishment. You're staying in. I said, okay, fine. He goes, but I'm staying in with you. I said, okay, we're fine. We're on a punishment. So he didn't go to the homecoming game to be there to have taken that car. He didn't do it. So he was home, and he stopped by the party to go give the kid whose birthday it was some money for a gift. And on his way, looked like he might have been leaving because he was on the sidewalk at the tree on the grass area near the liquor store on Vermont and 54th Street. But yeah, they killed 5 of them. And that was like the first recorded massacre in gang history in Los Angeles. And then after that, drive-bys became a thing like nobody's business.
Wow. Damn. That's pretty crazy, man. Oof. Being young, man, going through something like that, I can't even imagine. That had to have a pretty profound effect on you.
Well, there's definitely some PTSD going on. It's there. You can't get away from it, and it's in like different facets of my life, because even with this thing with the baby hair edge pro, you know, when I made that much money and it was legitimate money, you know, I had a thing about looking out my blinds because I know if I hit a lick like that, somebody coming. You know what I'm saying? So I got money, it's legit. I'm looking out the windows like, where's the police? So yeah, PTSD is there, and it's real. It's real. I was paranoid about being legit because that had been my life for so long, you know what I mean? And so there's things that happen to us that are embedded because of probably what the people go through in war. You know what I mean? Yeah.
You and 6ix9ine were cool at one point, you know, and you were around when he was going through it with Chief Keef.
Yeah.
You know, so how did all that come together, and, you know, how'd you meet 6ix9ine?
I met 6ix9ine because Shotty and I had a few conversations, and you know, I don't know if you remember at that time. Well, this was before the arrest. They were calling themselves the New Death Row, and so Shotty really had a thing for Suge, and so Shotty and I, or somebody put us in touch with each other, and so we would talk, and a couple of times I tried to get him on the phone with Suge. Then, and so he was coming into town, and so we decided, you know, when we come here, Six was working on something, and so while he's at work, T, you and I will get together and we'll, you know, and so we were gonna have lunch, and he calls and he says, okay, well, everybody's asleep. I'm gonna come down and we could have lunch near the Grove. And I said, okay, fine. And so we planned to meet at the Grove. And then he says, hey, I'm pulling in valet. Are you there? I said, yeah. And so when I went to meet him at the valet, he pops out of the car. It's here, 6ix9ine and Alshon Martin and this person and that person and that person. And I'm like, what's going on? So he goes, he wanted to come. He wanted to come and meet you. I told him I was coming here to meet Suge's friend, and he says, well, you're not going. I want to go meet her and know who she is myself. And so he jumped out the truck, and that's where I first met 6ix9ine. And he's such a sweet kid. He really is. But I knew at that point he was that wasn't his thing. He wasn't a gang member. He was never a gang member. And after dealing with them for a little while, then I started to see the story that 6ix9ine tells now. I started to see it then. And so he was a good kid going bad. You know what I'm saying? And he was being encouraged and influenced and stuff like that. And when I saw it, I said, damn, I gotta try. You know, I always want to save him, motherfucker. They were encouraging the shit with him and Chief Keef, and I said to 6ix9ine, I said, you want to box? And I said to Shotty, let him box. Let him get in the ring and fight Chief Keef. And so I said, I got $1 million for you to fight him. And I flew to New York. Now when I'm in New York, I'm going to meet with 6ix9ine. Chief Keef is there. So that night, I got into New York. Shadi got arrested for something completely different. This federal thing hadn't come up yet. And he went to jail. And I think the next day, 6ix9ine went to jail. I think he hit a police or something. And so then Alshon Martin was shooting a music video. And he said, can you come? And I said, of course. And we hung out. And Alshon and I had food and things like that. And before you know it, it was too late. He'd already got into this, whatever this gun shoot 'em up thing was. And it got bad. And so it went from that to that. But he's really a sweet kid. He's not about that life. He's a civilian. I'm a civilian now, but he's definitely a civilian. Yeah, he's a civilian.
You might be talking about the time when Chief Keef got shot at.
Yeah.
When he was in New York.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a civilian. And that's what he's supposed to do. He's and that's a situation grew out of that with Wack, because I had a meeting with them and while we were having dinner, this is when Wack and Big U and everybody else wanted to, get a piece of 6ix9ine. And so he came out and we were talking and he says, yeah, I don't understand what happened. He says, if they're having a meeting with me that I'm not the person that Suge knows, or I'm not some bullshit. I don't know, because I've never been in the industry. You know what I'm saying? I've always been in the streets. And please believe me, the streets is a mythical place. Ain't nothing about the streets real. And so they said something about, Wack said that, we shouldn't meet. I said, he doesn't even know me. Now, I don't really know Wack. He was around Suge. Sometimes a friend of mine tried to make me remember him from then, and I really can't remember him. But he said something about I wasn't who I said I was. And so then I got home and I called my youngest son and I said, do you have Wack's number by any chance? And he goes, yeah, Ma. I said, can you call him and ask Wack if I could get his number? So my son says, I will. And so then he goes, okay. He called me right back. And I said, I said, what happened? He goes, oh, I have it. I said, oh, I'm not the person who I say I am. And you can call this man and he calls you back in 2 seconds. So I called Wack. And so then he says, yeah, hey, sis, I was wondering if everything was okay. You all right? I said, yeah, I'm completely fine. What's going on? I said, but I don't remember us having any, relationship or, anything like that. I said, but I had a dinner with Shawnee and 6ix9ine, and you said some things about me that I can't understand where it came from. Now, I'm not whoever I am, and you don't. He said, oh. I said, if I'm not connected in this situation, how are you just on the phone with my son? How did I even get your phone number? Oh, no, I know him. I know him because I knew him from the office when he was a little boy. I said, well, you never thought he had a mom? Oh, I didn't think about that. I said, okay, well, I would appreciate if you, in respect, if you keep me out of your mouth because I don't speak about you. You know what I'm saying? And he says, yes, sis, I know, because where we come from, we get on the phone and we call. I said, where I come from, we pull up, and, I don't play all that back and forth and, that kind of thing and period. And, yeah. And that's the situation that happened with him. And so somebody sent me a clip of him having a conversation about me owning Crips LLC. And yeah, man, and I know who she is. And I don't know him, from nowhere, period.
I see that you have a connection with Bad Boy also.
Well, I don't have a connection per se. My oldest son's father does. He does. He did production and different things like that. He had a production company and they had writers and they did a lot of work with Bad Boy. Mm-hmm.
With all this Diddy stuff going on and all that, was there anything that you heard about or might have seen or anything that happened?
In terms of violence, or of connected to what's going on now?
Yeah, just anything in that general terms?
As a matter of fact, I can remember something, and this was about, let me see, my son is, he was going into kindergarten, and he's 33 now, I think. So about 30, almost 30 years ago, they called me and said to come down. The kids are pulling up, and so I did. I went downstairs to wait for the kids to pull up, and they were in a limousine, and he and his brother got out of the car, and he was upset, and he's like, Mom, I never want to go with Puff again. Mom, I never want to go with Puff again. And I'm like, why are you crying? What's wrong? And he said, because he was with them a lot, and he and J-Lo got really close. Like, he loved J-Lo, and she loved my youngest son, and you know, they had this thing. And so they went out one night, and it was someplace in Beverly Hills, and they were in a private room, and he said to me as a kid that J-Lo spoke in this place, and Puffy told her to shut the fuck up, and bitch, you don't speak until you're spoken to, and it tore my son apart. And so he said, Mommy, he made her cry. Please don't make me go with him again. I hate Puff. Yeah, and he was 5. He was 5. Yeah, he was 5. And so, you know, I'm not, domestic violence, I don't play it. You can run 1,000 reports, you'll never come back with me being beaten, men, and I don't believe in that. And domestic means it's domesticated, meaning in the family. Now, I don't believe in that. That's a no-no. And so I called my oldest son's father, and I said, hey, he's traumatized. He came in the house, he's crying. What happened with them at the, oh, it was nothing. It was nothing. Nothing happened. You know, so it's his whole Puffy crew that's, you know, they condone that shit, period. They condone it, and they've been doing it for, I can say, since then, 30 years. They've been condoning that shit, you know, and yeah, and domestic violence, I'm completely against that. Even now, and today, I've just had an experience, personal experience with domestic violence with my siblings. My father died earlier part of this year, and you know, people are emotional or whatever the case may be. You're not going to have an excuse to threaten or this kind of thing. You know what I'm saying? I have a brother who's in jail because he pulled the gun on me. Yes, Your Honor. He sure did. He pulled the gun out. And so, so he got a probation violation, and I have 2 restraining orders against brother and sister, and was right in court. And yes, I will testify on my family about domestic violence. I don't play that shit. No. Yeah, that's a no-no. But yeah, yeah, this isn't brand new. This isn't brand new. But you know what, too? You have to be accountable. There's some accountability, you know. With Cassie, it didn't have to go that far, because at the first sign of him snarling at her or something, you can see it in a man that he will go further. Now, when I heard this thing about J-Lo, she was gone. It wasn't a year later. It wasn't a year later. She was gone. She was out. She didn't have that shit. She left. And when she left, she left. And he was hurt. He might have been, you know, and, you know, got Luther Vandross Valentine's after she left him to sing that she didn't want none of that. And she wasn't near, you know, in her career where she is now, but she cut out. Cassie didn't do that, you know? So you have a choice.
Yeah, and you know, you see J-Lo hook up with a lot of her exes, but never Diddy.
You see that?
You know, she left Diddy, and she left. She never, you never seen them together. You never heard about
that
them.
That was it.
Nothing.
Yeah, that I don't believe she was a part of that violence, that abuse, and she didn't go for that. That's from my personal experience. She didn't. When my son told me about that, she was gone. Man. She was gone. And good for her. Good for her.
Yeah.
Yeah, she was gone.
Well, man, this has been a great interview. It was super informative. You know, a lot
I'm
of
around.
yeah, yeah. We definitely gotta do a part 2 for sure. You know, man. I mean, it's been super informative. You know, a lot of things I learned during this interview, man. You know, I think you know, it'll probably, you know, bring some light to everything that you got going on, and you know, with the Crips and the Bloods and the corporations and the legitimate side of things.
Yeah, we're just trying to right our wrongs and, keep you from seeing them on the 11 o'clock news and clutching your pearls in your purse when they walk past you, or you know what I'm saying? That's it. They're not animals. Crips and Bloods are not animals, we're people, you know? And there's some that don't act like that, and you get treated accordingly. But for the most part, you know, um, it's just a learn and unlearn process that has to be done.
Well, I appreciate you.
I appreciate you for having me.
Yes, no problem.
Absolutely.
All right. What's up? This is Cam Capone. We got more content like this coming soon, so hit that like button, subscribe, and stay locked in to Cam Capone News.